Welcome to the first workshop. The goal of these workshops or these series of workshops is to bring you highly relevant, contextual advice for the time of year that we're in. As you can imagine, it is there's seasons in the year, right? You've got Christmas and festive season, and then you have the after New Year season where things go a little bit, you know, hyper for the first 4 weeks, and then we go back into work mode. We've got the winter months. Like every part of the year provides a new challenge, and that's the whole goal that's the whole goal of these workshops and these 6 week blocks. Is it essentially they're gonna form 6 week sprints so that with 4 per year, you're going to be able to jump from one to the next and keep sprinting ahead each and every time you do one of these. Okay. So for those who don't know me and are watching this, this is what qualifies me. I've got other things that qualify me, obviously, but I think you are a reflection of the outcomes you produce. Okay. The outcomes that I produce are optimal physiology, not only how you look, how you feel, and how you function. If you zoomed into all these guys' faces, they're not actually drawn out. Then they don't have bags under their eyes. Their hair's not falling out, right? And these are all common things that happen when you eat less and exercise more, and you don't fill the gap. So a very big thing that we're going to get across in the next 6 weeks is how do you actually get to a point where you are looking, feeling, and functioning better as time goes on. Now, each of you are in different stages. Some are further along than others. Just know that there's something for all of you in each of these slides. You'll be able to extract something out of this, regardless of where you are on your journey. So if you're in level 3 or level 1, or you're not even off the ground yet, say you're struggling with one habit and you just haven't seen any progress over the last 6 months, you'll be able to grab something from this presentation today. Okay, so be prepared to take notes. Let's go. So over the next 6 weeks, we're going to touch on quick wins, identifying your biggest domino. We're going to look at how to rewind the clock 10 years and reclaim your former athletic self. If you were never athletic like me, you will not reclaim anything, but you'll just become more and more athletic as you get older. Okay. Food freedom. So how do you eat food that you love every single day and enjoy special events guilt-free? We're going to talk about how woohoo rituals will powerfully increase your testosterone and your metabolism. I'm going to teach you how to look at certain things and confirm whether or not your strategy or your approach is the right one. Often, what people will do is they'll start training and they haven't lose weight. And then because they're training hard and they're not losing weight, they get fed up because they're blind to what actually is going on elsewhere. So I'm going to very clearly define what you need to look for and when you need to look for it, so you don't make emotional decisions and ruin your progress. In week 6, we're going to turn the challenge or the 6-week sprint into a real lifelong process. So make sure you turn up to that one. Transformation requires new knowledge, but more than that, it requires new skills and a new mindset. If you're sitting there and you're watching this now, I can't see you, but you can raise a hand if you know how to work Zoom, or you can just raise a hand like this. Raise a hand if you've ever been a information junkie, read books, listened to podcasts, started a diet or a plan, or started anything to improve any area of your life and found that you consumed all this new knowledge, but you haven't actually taken action on it. That would have to be probably one of my biggest struggles. And this was my biggest struggle when I was trying to figure out this health thing. I'm effortlessly lean now, stronger, leaner, and fitter than I was 10 years ago, purely and simply because I acquired knowledge, I learned new skills, and I adopted a new mindset. And this is essentially transformation or identity change. When we go through a learning process, there's 4 stages to this. Lean in, because this is important. You have your unconscious incompetent stage. This is where you've got no idea what's going wrong, what you're doing wrong, or even if there's a problem. Okay. I'm just going to throw some random percentages out there, but I reckon about 80% of the world lives in this bottom stage where they're unconsciously incompetent and they just whinge. The second is conscious incompetence. It's, oh my God, I'm so shit. Everything is in chaos and I can't do anything right. Social media has done a really good job at bringing that out in everyone, because you see on social media all these people that are lean, healthy, fit, driving Ferraris, sailing across the world, and you're wondering, well, what the fuck am I doing? And what am I doing wrong, right? Then you've got conscious competence. Conscious competence is I'm doing everything right, but nothing is changing it so hard. This is typically where you find yourself when you start coaching with a coach like me, or doing a program. Because what you'll find is you will learn the path. You'll find someone who's got what you want. You'll learn the path, but you won't be good at it yet because you don't have the skills or the mindset yet. So you'll go from being in conscious competence to conscious incompetence, and back and forth until you've burnt your hand on the stove so much that you realize, okay, well, being consciously incompetent sucks. I'm not going to burn myself again. I'm going to work really hard on acquiring new skills and acquiring this new mindset. And that could be as simple as starting to meal prep, having food available, going away to Sydney, coming back, no food in the freezer, and not food prepping for the week and realizing, shit, I actually like being organized. I'm going to adopt this as my new non-negotiable. It's going to be like brushing my teeth. And if I go to bed without brushing my teeth, I'm going to feel yuck. I'm going to feel yuck if I don't meal prep each week. Okay. That's a new adopted identity. And eventually where we want to get to is a point where you're in unconscious competence. Wouldn't that be grand? Wouldn't that be grand if you didn't have to think about the food you ate, the exercise that you did, you could just do, and you continually produce a better body shape, a stronger one, a fitter one, a healthier one, and everything else that comes off the back of that. Imagine the brain space that would free up because you've got this body that's physiologically capable of working longer hours or working harder within smaller hours, whatever your goal might be. You're traveling, being able to keep up with people 10 years younger than you, 20 years younger than you. For me, I want to be able to be a granddad sprinting down the footy field and leaving the grandkids in my wake, right? That's just my personal goal there. And the only way I know that I'm going to get there is if I'm unconsciously competent in producing health. So it's a good time now to start thinking about what your big domino is. If we knock over the big domino, we have a cascading effect where each habit you break afterwards becomes easier to break. Conversely, if you attack a random habit that doesn't have big impact, you'll find yourself disjointed. You won't have a clear path ahead of you because you'll feel like you have to juggle everything. Okay. Now, luckily, I've worked with hundreds of people and I've actually assessed hundreds of metabolisms, and there are four main blockers that block most people from the result that they want, whether physiologically, body shape, or performance. There's these four that block. Usually it's chronic stress, poor sleeping habits, alcohol, smoking, drugs, and medication. They're the biggest ones. Okay. Now, what's your biggest domino? Most people, they know what their big domino is. At this time of year, and this is what we're going to workshop today, the biggest domino is how do you navigate the social pressures or the antisocial pressures? Because we have two types of people in the world, people who are social and we've got people who are antisocial, and they'll have different problems at this time of year. So whether it's drinking, socializing, eating with people that you don't like, or with people who like you but manipulate you, or just drinking by yourself and you're the one that manipulates yourself, there's a strategy that we can implement to help you control that. Okay, whether it's drinking or eating, typically if we're looking at a body compositional thing, it's always going to be drinking or eating. So I want to share with you a little bit of a framework to think of over the next 6 weeks times 7, 42 days. Who's seen the Christmas trees, pre-Halloween decorations in Big W and Woolworths? Festive season's getting like longer and longer. It's 3 months now. Crazy. So we've got 42 days, or 42 days yesterday. Setting healthy drinking and eating boundaries. This is a framework that I've developed over time that I use. My wife uses it. We use it with all our clients. And essentially, it's a way to determine whether or not the drink or the food is worth it. So there are 4 things that I will rate the upcoming decision against. Say, for example, it's Friday night and my wife is like, let's get some takeaway. Busy and stressed out because she works late and there's nothing in the fridge. The ticks that I might get for that situation would probably be the company. So I'd know that the company would be worthy. The food, it might be, but the location and the occasion probably not. Now, if it's not 4 ticks, then usually I would say no. Okay, I'm human though. Sometimes I say yes. If, for example, it was Christmas and we're sitting as a family and we're going to have a meal out somewhere nice, that would get 4 ticks and that would be a worthy occasion. So they're 2 examples from my life. I want you to think about 2 examples from your life, and I'll give you some client examples to think about as well. So if you are one to drink at home by yourself, then you would have to rate whether the occasion is worthy or not. You'd have to rate whether the company was worthy, the location, and then the food or drink. Okay? And logically, you'd probably say no ticks there. But there's a reason why you're doing that. And to dissect that, we need to look at a few different things. We need to look at a habit loop. What's the cue? What's the routine? What's the reward? All right. If we can keep those routine, that cue and that reward in place and swap out the routine, we've got a winner. Sometimes we've got to go deeper and then we've got to go into stress triggers, right? Or coping with stress, coming up with new ways to cope with stress. That's deeper stuff. This is surface level. This is creating those boundaries, okay? Now, you can spend all your time down deep and not actually get any work done because you're not setting healthy boundaries. So you've got to work this like a bit of an onion. This framework, I want you to take this away with you, and I want you to think about what you've got coming up for the next 42 days, okay? You're going to, and you can do this with a paper and a pen now, you're going to choose your compliance level. It's just 6 weeks. I'll tell you what you can achieve in 6 weeks at each of those compliance levels. At 80% compliance, you can maintain what you've got and inch forward very slightly at 80% compliance. Okay, what 80% compliance looks like is 33 good days and 9 days that are just off track. How do we look at what a good day is and an off track day is? Well, a good day is, you've eaten 3 to 4 times, you've got protein, plant food, omega-3 in every meal. You've trained, so you've moved, and you haven't eaten any shit or drank any shit. An off day might be you've eaten twice, 3 times potentially, and then you've gone through all or you can eat buffet, or you've gotten onto the drinks. You've done something that would be taking your health, your energy levels, your physiology away from where you logically want it to go. Okay, if you were at 90% for the next 6 weeks, you would experience significant improvement in where you are right now. And twice as fast as what you would at 80%. And at 95%, you've got rocket ship like results. You could easily see maybe 4 kilos off on the scales. You could see a few percent off body fat around the stomach. You would see a significant difference in 6 weeks. Most people can't last 6 weeks at 95%. Okay, so it might be a good challenge for you. What that is 2 days off in that entire period. Okay, and obviously you'd need to really use those boundaries that I set earlier, that framework that I set earlier. You'd need to use that to really get clear on what's actually worth it. One year I had a fruit cake for my birthday. It wasn't a fruit cake that grandma would make. It was watermelon stacked on pineapple, stacked on rock melon. And we cut the fruit up, and that's what I ate for my birthday. My family doesn't remember that as being a bad day. They remember it as being pretty funny, actually, and I do too. We get that photo out from time to time. That year, I got to 6% body fat. Am I 6% body fat? No. Now, no. But the actual going and getting to that and being able to go, you know what? I'm going to abstain from cake for my 30th birthday, or I think it was my 28th, actually. My 28th birthday, 1 year out of 32. That's powerful. I've gone another special occasion doing those sorts of things, and they're kind of your litmus tests, your linchpins. If you can pull those, you generally have a good 6 months afterwards because you're fired up and you're engaged. So have a think about it now. Write down a number. Put it in the chat. What are you going to be? What are you going to commit to being? 80%, 90%, 95%? So there will be events that you're going to miss out on. There are going to be days that you get up and train, and you probably wouldn't normally train on that particular day. Like, if anyone here on this call gets a Christmas training session in, I'm going to be like proud. If you can get one in, that'd be awesome. But I digress. Let's go back to minimizing the damage. So here are a few strategies that you can use to minimize the damage of social eating / drinking. The first is to eat before you go. Don't turn up hungry. Man, this is so powerful because you can use this not only in social situations, but antisocial situations as well. If you start drinking on an empty stomach, you're going to drink until you're full and drink some more, and you'll never actually get full. You just keep pissing it out, right? If you're full with food, you'll stop the process of you will literally not have any more room left, right? Now, I'm not saying go and fill yourself up on a packet of chips, because you don't ever get full on that sort of stuff. But eating food is so powerful, especially before you go to a social event. All right, I'll often have a container of food that I'm eating on the way to a birthday party, and that's not abnormal for me. Right? Remember, going back to that changing of a mindset. If you've been triggered by that comment or anything else that I talked about, like fruitcake, and you're like, oh, that's weird, consider that maybe you might need a new mindset to actually get the goal that you want to get. Okay, we'll get to the place that you want to get to. Get a training session in that day. You're going to open up a window. So when you go and you start eating, well, you're going to actually be putting that food to the right place, right? Choose one. Will you eat or drink? Typically, and this kind of does go against a bit of what I said earlier about eating then drinking. But what I mean by this is, if you eat and drink, so if you're eating high energy food and you're drinking high energy liquids, that's just a recipe for tons of stomach fat. But not only stomach fat, unbalanced hormones, no low energy, low mojo, all that sort of stuff. So it's just not good. Puts you in a state of being in a place where you're not actually hungry to go and actually get stuff too. If I go into some men 2.0 stuff, it's really interesting how we're wired. If we're full, if we've had sex, if we've essentially gratified ourselves, we won't be energized whatsoever or motivated to go and do things that require work. That's just how our brains are wired. That's how the dopamine effect works. So choose one, eat or drink. Don't stuff yourself. I've gone off track there. Finally, you don't have to explain yourself. Often people say, oh, look, I'm not drinking because I'm on a diet. That just opens up a can of worms, a world of questions. Say, I'm just not drinking today. Just chose not to. Cool, keep it short and sharp and move on. Other things that I can think of off the top of my head are to go one water, one drink. You can have a Coke Zero in your hand and it look like you're drinking an alcoholic drink of some kind. There's heaps of strategies we can workshop those in our one-on-ones or through the two-way chat. Okay, but hopefully what this has done is it started to get you thinking about which events you're going to forego, which ones you're going to actually have guilt-free over the next 6 weeks. So what are you going to do over the next 6 weeks? And add these to your calendar. Write this down. We're not going to have time to add it to your calendar on the call, but I want you to think about what sessions are you going to turn up to. So you're going to do all the ones in your app, or you're only going to turn up to some of them? How are you going to go that extra mile? What do you need to do to make sure you can manage your health and your energy over the next 42 days? And what goal are you chasing? So if you're in, if you're using my app, you go to the exercise section, you'll see I've got some cardio standards and strength standards loaded up in there now. You can have a look at that and pick which one you want to do. Test yourself. There's a 500-meter row. There's a 5K run. There's 1,000 stairs. That's a good one. I love that one. There's bench press, squat, deadlift strength standards. There's body weight strength standards. I know Ricky would love this one. It's based on push-ups, squats, and plank for level 1, and then we go all the way up to chin-ups, one-arm push-ups, pistol squats. Okay, so this is your body weight stuff there. But what goal are you chasing? Pick a performance goal, pick a body composition goal, and pick a lifestyle goal. So that might look like I'm aiming for a 100-kilo bench in a 5-kilometer run. I want to drop 2 kilos on the scales, and I want this to feel like I can continue doing it at the 6-week mark and not be burnt out. Next week, we are going to dive into rewinding the clock by 10 years. I've seen this happen time and time again, and I've heard people tell me how they feel like they feel 10 years younger, and it's through building muscle effectively. So we're going to dive into how intense your workouts should be. We're going to dive into nutrition protocols you can use around training to get the best result possible. Improve your result by up to 400%, scientifically validated stuff. That means you can achieve 4 times more in a session or train a quarter as much and get just as good results as someone who spends 5 days, 6 days in the gym.